democracy allows for fair hearing. This is reckless. This is ungodly.
When news break, we engage experts in critical analysis.
Do you see your party coming into power come 2019?
This administration will succeed and succeed well.
You cannot be running a 4-year tenure like you are running a 20-year tenure.
He has done fairly well, especially where insurgency and terrorism is concerned.
Then it gets controversial.
They have a right to their opinion. Can we, very interesting gentlemen, just hold on.
I am about principle and I am about focus.
Now, you see, let me
say this.
So that our soldiers will be free. We should also ask for justification.
Core Digest, your #1 program for current issues. Welcome back on the program. I take over from my colleague, Bossa Deomori there. Well, we kickstart this morning. Before we look at the major thrust of discussion, what transpired along the bridge that leads, talking about Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, it's quite pathetic when you have articulated vehicles on the street, on major roads. Talking about this one is becoming a reoccurring decimal that we're having along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Talking about the number of times such keep happening on that particular road. Let me allow my guest to give that comment on this one. Ologun is a legal practitioner. Markson is a leadership expert, a retired Navy officer, and a public affairs analyst. Many thanks for staying tuned, gentlemen. Let's kickstart with what transpired on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. It's becoming a reoccurring decimal with these articulated vehicles.
Yeah, I was on it this morning, and it was quite traumatic. And it reflects the paucity of maintenance culture as a country. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, approximately about 128 kilometers, was commissioned in 1978, and it accommodates about 250,000 vehicles on a daily basis. And lately, I have been complaining on radio about those deadly potholes between the Long Bridge and Baga. In fact, after Baga now towards the Alausa Secretariat, there's also a pothole there. And earlier this week, I sent photographs to FEMA and an appeal. But must Nigeria, and I warned that is it until we have an accident here, must we go to the extreme
and that's what transpired today.
The attention. Governance is about empowering the society. There are basic amenities. These are not favor being done to people. And you can imagine the loss of properties, sometimes loss of life, man hour. For how long do we continue with this? And that's why many Nigerians ask that, don't our leaders travel? They travel. You go from Baltimore in Maryland all the way to Connecticut, a journey of about between 6 and 8 hours. And, you can drive, but some are not comfortable making these references. But everything about governance is to make life meaningful for the people. And any government that fails to deliver on this, I wonder what justification they have for the mandate.
Okay, Markson, what do you make of that?
I think it's still the same problem we'll be having from the onset. Leadership insensitivity to their followers, to the society. You see, like my friend said, the potholes in Nigeria are not taken care of until when they become, what do I call it? Is it drum hole? A death trap. Okay. Until they are so big, then it will now attract the contractors, the attention of the contractors. People see government as a business, not as service. That is the problem we're having in Nigeria. Most of the people who took time or who want to serve in governance, they are not serving because they want to render services. Some of them want to do that just because they consider it as a way of making money. That's why you see that when they see a small pothole that's supposed to attract their attention and they cover it up and make the road to be smooth again, they will leave it until when they can now award, when the thing becomes so big and they cannot award contracts.
And what do you
Then
make?
they will now tell you.
What do you make of the loss of time and energy we keep wasting in this?
Now, let me
part
ask
of the
this
world?
question, sir. Now, let's even go academic. What is the meaning of Federal Road Maintenance Agency? What is the meaning of maintenance? You see, do we care for lives? At the time, I was challenging the Federal Road Safety Corps while appreciating their efforts, that you go and station by potholes because you want to arrest some drivers. Can't you network with the agency that is supposed to maintain this road so that you first preserve the lives? It appears that we pay little attention to lives.
Well, it's becoming a recurring decimal on this particular road.
I was going to Ibadan one day, and the road safety guy stopped me, and they were asking me of a roadworthiness thing, say certificate of roadworthiness or vehicle roadworthiness. And I asked them, look at where you are standing. Is this road worthy? Is this road not a death trap? And you are stopping, you busy stopping motorists here asking for roadworthiness of the vehicle. Whereas the road is not worthy. It's even making the vehicle unworthy.
And let me reveal something, sir. This particular area, I have special interest in it. Between Baga and Dakara Bridge, there is a organizer that is stationed by the end of that bridge, perhaps waiting for casualties, because I move on that road almost every day of the week. Must we come to that level? Now, we are talking about federal government. At the time I requested, what about state government? This road links Osun State, it links the whole of the country, even with West Africa. What about, can the states intervene, the local government? At the time I even said, okay, if you attend to this emergency within a week or so, that was before I traveled, that I will contribute 100,000 naira. We can even mobilize, because it became dangerous. You cannot just go there, you may be accused of something else. We need, you see, honestly, I must advise the government today, if you fail to connect with the people emotionally by what they are enjoying from your services, then you will run into crisis. That is why you see incumbent parties struggling for relevance. What are Nigerians demanding for? What are Nigerians demanding for?
Let's turn our attention to other matters now for the program this morning. Osun supplementary election matters are rising. Well, tomorrow is another day when the residents of Osun, precisely 3 local governments of the units, will be going out there to cast their votes. What will transpire in Osun tomorrow? Are we going to have the next governor who will take over from Rauf Aregbesola in that particular state? Well, let me start with you, Jide Ologun. Osun supplementary election tomorrow is the D-Day, and Omishore, Yola Omishore is becoming the bride that all politicians are moving around him to solicit for votes.
Maybe we proceed from the status quo.
Okay.
The status quo is that PDP was leading, and suddenly, for some reasons, malpractices or whatever, the election was described as inconclusive, which is leading to the so-called rerun tomorrow, because all the parties will still participate at the affected units. And of course, many came out to say that INEC has the right under the guidelines to describe and conclude that the elections were inconclusive. But then there's another argument that is subject to the Constitution. The Constitution is supreme to any guideline or any act that emanates from it. And if you look at Section 179 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it stipulates the guidelines for victory, where you have more than 2 candidates, and where not less than 1/4 of all votes cast in such at least 2/3 of the local governments. If these are clear, and from what we have on ground, all these are clear. But now that we are asking for a rerun, best wishes, but we have said that there are 3 windows of violence in elections: pre-election violence, the real election violence, and post-election violence. And if we look at the antecedents of Osun State, we should be very careful. And I think that is why Gerald Salami retired. A former head of state and the peace committee is approaching this matter. And like my Oga rightly said here, I think when we see governance as service and not business, we will not be desperate about it. And another lesson here for the incumbent: you have managed these people for a number of years. You should be able to fluently secure their loyalty at the polls. But I must also commend the fact that this process emerged, at a point where you can see it clearly that there wasn't a manipulative opportunity for the incumbent. I have said it: the new politics of Nigeria cannot be played on the platform of assumption. People are migrating to experience now, not promises and expectations. And that is the gap we have always had. What are people benefiting? What is the essence? I've said it: there are two aspects of democracy: the procedural, which touches on how elections are conducted, and the substantive democracy, which talks about setting up a government that will advance the welfare of the people. Can we claim to have enjoyed that or succeeded in establishing, a democracy that is benefiting in this part of the world? And here we are. Tomorrow is around the corner, and they're going around wooing each other.
But did you consider...
I know that the people, now we are not even talking about apathy. People came out to vote. And we also expect that people will come out to express, and of course the stage is set for judicial intervention.
Okay, now did you consider the total number of cancelled votes or rejected votes in that particular unit? Talking about Orulu Unit 2, Ife South, Ife North, Oshobo Unit 1. These are the places where
the argument is that the difference between the two leading candidates is lower than the number of cancelled votes. And the question you ask, and this question came up in the case of Oshomole and Osumbo in Edo State. The question you ask is that, what is the meaning of cancellation? When you cancel something, you take the effectiveness away from it. That means it has no role to play in what is being considered. And the court decided in that direction, that even the cancelled votes that were added to one party were deducted to declare the result. So if you are claiming now, except perhaps they were acting in a hurry, that you have cancelled this, then what effect? Should you not just cancel it and go by what you have on the table? But I pray that we will not, in addition to the situation we have in this country now, snowball into another political violence.
Okay,
that's my prayer.
Let me come to you, Markson. What do you make of that?
First of all, I want to congratulate the citizens of Osun State for their political maturity, because all through the election there was no violence, and there was no, I don't think there was anything like loss of life. Those people, the citizens of Osun State, they came out freely to express their franchise. They voted, and their vote were counted as announced by the INEC. Now, my problem with whether they call it cancellation or whatever, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not going to go into that, is that since the inception of this government, they've conducted several elections, and most of those elections has ended up in the tribunal. Is it true that we cannot conduct ordinary election in Nigeria, ordinary state government election, without raising the whole world, without infiltrating the whole world with the news of negativity that does not portray us as a serious nation, as a serious country, as people who can govern themselves? Something like this election, state government, just one state, should not have come up to this level.
Is there any election in the country that is not being challenged at the tribunal?
That is what I'm saying. Does it mean we cannot conduct election? We can't govern ourselves? We can't hand over government without going to the tribunal without causing problems and commotion that will be with the lawyers will catch on the lacuna that is in the constitution. We will see politicians hiring lawyers, 7, 8 in the sum of sometimes outrageous amount that goes into millions just to defend the case. What are they looking for? Is a service?
But this will not be the first time. This will not be the first time that an election will be declared inconclusive.
Excuse me. Is it service they are actually looking for?
I will answer the question of service.
Business. Do you understand? Is it service or business? We need to know what these people are out for. Is it to serve Nigeria? They will engage 20 SAN. Today you have SAN that are major in tribunal matters, and people go to them with billions of naira and just to defend.
He is a lawyer. He's going to answer that. But my question to you at the moment is: this will not be the first time that an election will be declared inconclusive. So what is all about the argument back and forth, counter, and different arguments? A lot of people are raising concerning this one.
You know what I like about Nigerians? Nigerians always they're always rejoicing when they are making bad references. People always want to be happy that, oh, we have done it before. Can't we do it better? Must we continue to repeat the same mistake over and over again? And then we want to make progress? Is that how?
Is this a mistake from INEC?
I don't know. Somebody has to be responsible. Somebody has to be held responsible for this. Do you understand? If every country, every developed country of the world, if you watch the way they do their things and the way they manage themselves, you see that somebody somewhere cannot just sit down and doze off while he's not supposed to sleep. Somebody has to take responsibility for any wrong thing that goes. People has to go for it. But here we say it's a normal thing. Election has been cancelled, it's a normal thing. Let them go for another rerun. Tomorrow you find all of them going to the tribunal again, and you see all sorts of celebration. This is shameful. I don't like it. It's shameful.
What do you think INEC should have done better?
INEC should have announced the winner.
Considering the margin?
Considering what? Considering what? Election has been conducted. There is no perfect election anywhere in the world. All what we need is tolerance, respect, service, humanity. Even as human beings, we are not perfect. I don't expect INEC, having seen the display of the maturity of the people of Osun State, having seen the display of the maturity of the youth, despite that, these people were not taken care of. This is not a state that you can say that people should be proud of, that we are in a state for 8 years. Now, these people have come out, they exercised their franchise, they voted peacefully, changing government. Whosoever, I mean, it is natural.
Considering the issue of malpractices and some pocket of violence recorded in those units, and you said the INEC should have declared such an election, a winner in that election.
I monitor to the extent that they announced 29 local government out of 30. Do you understand? That is perfect enough, my brother. There is no government in this world. There is no activities of human being that can assume 100% perfection. You understand? What is required now is your ability to show your humanity by portraying that fact that character is key to destiny.
Okay, let me allow Jide Ologun to speak now. He's talking about humanity here. Let's link it down to the issue of moral and law. What is the law saying concerning all of this?
The laws are clear, we have stated it, but then, like he said, all this will go to tribunal eventually. But the question some are asking, let's assume that it was APC that was leading.
Those are permutations.
Permutation is part of the process.
Is that what the law is saying?
Let me tell you, there is a paucity of trust. I call it trust capital deficit. Even though we describe INEC as independent, many do not admit that it's independent. They still link it with the ruling party and with the antecedents of the activities of the federal government in Osun State. There was a suspicion of an attempt to manipulate, but the people came out to vote. You see, and when Donald Trump was contesting the presidency of America with Hillary Clinton, many never expected that even Donald Trump would emerge. But after the polls, in fact, he said at the point, they asked him, will you accept the result? He said, if I win. And right now you see America moving forward. The question my Oga asked here, I have seen the Nigerian politics being more of business than service. Okay. If I roll out 45 million naira, I know the size of house you will sell for 45 million. I mean, let's push the economic situation aside. To buy a nomination form, you are calling me to come and serve. So we need to visit the process we have in this country. The years of governance that we have experienced, what has it delivered? What is the state of education in this country? What is the state of health facility? We are talking about roads. We are talking about aviation business. We are talking about the economy, a whole gamut of issues. You see, and until recently, but you know, many things happen that you just let some go. Why don't let some go? Recently in this country, about 38 houses that were seized from a former governor were returned to him. And yet we have 36 states. So for how long was this man in office? To acquire 38 houses. We claim there is no money to pay salaries. You need to know the property some of these politicians have in and outside Nigeria. So these are issues. So I think we need to sit back. But I'm interested in the fact that the people are beginning to realize now that they must wake up. And that's why we are asking there should not be any apathy. And that is why the concept of primaries and direct and indirect primaries are sending shivers to some politicians, because the people will now come out to tell whether they have benefited, whether their future is secure or mortgaged before they exercise their mandate. And again, we have not changed the definition of democracy. It started in Athens in Greece, which is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I think this is where we are now. In whatever direction it turns, you can expect that there will be judicial interventions. But I agree with the fact that must we always go through this route? I mean, and that's why I'm happy that the Peace Committee is getting involved. But even that Peace Committee, you heard a comment by the side of the mouth. Maybe issues will still come up in this country. Why former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari even before the conclusion of counting of the votes. But that's not a discussion for today. At a time, we were all, frightened by the fact that the results of MKO, Hope 93, was annulled. You will still get a lot of issues. But by and large, I'm happy we are graduating as a nation in building our political process. And the destination is giving us a government that can protect lives and property, provide for the people, create employment, be economically viable, and have sustainable development like we have in Singapore that can push us into a brilliant future.
Let me just put you on the pause at the moment. Let me quote this section to you, section 153 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, which empowers the Commission in pursuit of its provision of the Act to issue regulations, guidelines, or manual for those purposes of giving effect to affect the provisions of this Act and for the administration thereof. And this is what INEC is saying, that he has given a guideline.
Guidelines are subject to the Constitution. Can you read section 179
of this election?
Of the 1999 Constitution? There, section 179. Read it. Let's
well, we can get to we can get to have that.
Guidelines are subject to the Constitution. Is there? Look, you see, we condone a lot of issues in this country. I mean, I'm not from Osun State. I'm a national development advocate. Look at when the police went to invade the National Assembly. Yeah, we always, and I said it when I came back from Canada recently, that Nigeria is the Nigerian government is the most fortunate in the world. And ask me why. The people who should be demanding accountability and good governance are the ones making excuses for them. We make excuses for them. We divide and begin to argue. We divide and begin to argue. But then it's part of the process. One thing I have always said it, write it down. It's in line with the mandate of God. Leadership that does not care for the people we eventually become irrelevant. It's as simple as that. You know, God created the resources of this world for the benefits. And like a wise man said, that the wealth of a king is defined by the comfort of the subjects. You see? So here we are now. And I thank God for one concept, sir, that any office that has a beginning has an end. You see, it's good now that we are making reference to Mandela. Mandela did, you know, valiantly to put in place a leadership template that anybody can emulate across the globe, which is people focused.
So what do you see transpire tomorrow, Markson?
I still want to use this medium to crave the indulgence of the people of Osun State, the citizen, to continue in their quest to make good history for their state, and then they should go about their normal business to go and cast their vote and put to whosoever.
Okay. Because the total number of registered voters in all those units, Orolu, Ife South, Ife North, and Oshogo, is about 3,498 registered voters in that units, in all of those units.
Yeah, Ife South, Ife North. You see, you mentioned something that old Mishori has suddenly
become the bride.
Yeah, has suddenly become
the bride for you see, the APC and the PDP.
We do not have societal problem. You understand? As people want us to believe, Nigeria don't have societal problem. We have individual problem that is affecting and destroying our society. You understand? When a Hindu human being suddenly become a bride, what do you do with a bride? Some people has gathered to continuously gang rape Nigeria. They gang rape this nation.
Well, okay, continue. Let me just continue.
I know what I'm talking about. Some individual are busy gang raping the country. They become a bride. Suddenly, people flock to them for what? For political relevance. They want to get their attention.
It's all about power.
But
what I want to chip in before you continue with your line of thought is that the same Omishori that the PDP is meeting today burnt the flag of the PDP when he left the party to join the SDP.
Yes.
So the set of people, the president of the Senate met with him 2 days ago.
A politician.
And the governor-elect of Ekiti State, today, John Kadi Fayemi, was with him yesterday.
He is a politician. Don't be too deceived. Don't be deceived to believe that you are seeing. I'm a security man, but sometimes all these things you see happening, they are machinations. That's why I say somebody supposed to take responsibility. Why was those election cancelled in those 5 units you're talking about? Is it because people did not go to cast their vote? No. People went
there
to
are disruptions.
Excuse me.
I think
who are the people that cause the disruption?
I think at this
Have they
stage,
been arrested? Have they been
I think
investigated?
at this stage,
You see, some people can manipulate things in their favor. At the end of the day, you come to them.
you know what?
Because they will become
Omishore or no Omishore,
okay.
I can assure Nigerian politicians that people are beginning to vote by virtue of their experience. I have not received salaries for 17 months, and you are asking me to blindly follow a godfather, whether at micro or macro level. I think I should consider my future. You see, so I'm not even worried, and whatever reports we are reading in the newspapers. But then tomorrow will come, whether we choose to start doing the right thing or not. Whatever you sow,
you shall reap. Okay, let's open the phone lines now. Well, I'm being told that the lines indeed are buzzing now. This time we're quite so sorry about that. Let's open the phone lines to get your pause on what we're looking at today. Talking about Osun supplementary election. Tomorrow is the D-Day. Looking at the election which will hold in some units of Orolu, Ife South, Ife North, and Oshobo Unit 1 there. Let's get your contribution on the program this morning. Do not attack any personality. Make your comment as plain as possible. Back to you, Gidi Ologun.
You know, but like a wise man said, that the politician thinks of the next election. The statesman thinks of the future. Let me ask a question. The energy politicians put into fighting to secure votes. What about if they put it into developing? All the PDP governors we so gay, let's go to this state. Let's make sure they are developed. Let's, maximize our resources. Why is it that it's the election year that pumps the adrenaline? The moment the elections are over, they disappear, they are not accessible. Until some are beaten up by their constituents when they come home to oppress them. So I think generally we must look at the set of the kind of governance system we need as a nation.
With that line of thought, let's rejoin. Femi is calling us from Kaduna. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning, Mr. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Go on with a comment, please.
Good morning to the gentleman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My brother, why is the integrity of Mr. President the integrity, the man of integrity? Why this thing happen? And instead of him to know what to do, he's sending firemen to Osun State to make sure to go and break me. Why is the integrity in this case? Why this type of... I only congratulate, I'm happy with Osun people and the people. This is those days that now how people have been done. People have been killed everywhere. There's people now, they are realized. They know the type of government we have today. What they were planning for is to roll out armor car, killing innocent people, killing the opposition because of election. But the people now, they have shown themselves that what they want, nobody can change their mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Femi from Kaduna. You've made your point there. Thank you very much. Well, Femi, they're talking about the president being a man of integrity. Is it about the president at this time talking about this election?
He's the president of the country, so he is expected to be interested in what we promote peace and unity. You see, and like I was saying, why can't all these leaders come together and embark on smart objectives that, okay, in the next 9 months, there must be power supply in every part of the country. How do we achieve that? Why don't we focus our energy on developing the country? Why? Which will even reduce the stress of politicking. If you are good, the people will, even when you say you don't want to contest, they will find a way of saying you should contest. So whether we like it or not, time waits for no one. So if you are given a window of opportunity to be a blessing to the people and you mismanage it, history will record it. It's as simple as that. But we are saying that Nigeria has more than enough resources to be a frontline nation in the world. And we keenly await that, and it will manifest.
APC seems to be struggling. Okay, we have Tunde. Tunde is calling us from Ilorin. Thank you so much for joining us, Tunde.
Okay, thank you.
Go on with your comment, please.
Greatest regards to the gentleman at the studio.
Okay.
With due respect to their views, I want to have a slightly different opinion.
Okay.
You see, those areas where the elections were counted, is it the cancellation by the INEC officials or as a result of the destruction that happened? If it is as a result of the destruction that happened at that polling station or food, whatever you call it, I won't believe that since they are also from the good people of Ondo State, I think not entitled to their right of voting. So if they are entitled to their right to vote, why must they be denied that opportunity to vote? Because if there is cancelled, it's cancelled. Is it a deliberate cancellation? It's not a deliberate cancellation. It is as a result of ballot paper being shared. And some people, the ballot was snatched. If these are the reasons, why must not be given the opportunity to exercise their franchise? Is there cancellation? All the back to you are putting law. And I would have admitted straight away if what happened And the more presently this, I'm not supporting, and they are not investing in Islam. If the demand that is living now has a greater number of votes, you know, the INEC will not have an opportunity to do any manipulation, if you call it.
Okay.
So that is my just contribution about it.
Thank you very much there. Tunde from Ilorin. You quickly want to react to that. When you look at Ife South and Ife North, these are strongholds of Omishori.
Yes.
Oshobo is that of the APC candidates. And in all these ones, Tunde raised it there.
The election will come tomorrow. What about the INEC official
that even confessed
to tearing results?
Excuse me.
Okay.
You see,
Markson.
Yeah. The area that are left now, this area we're talking about, Ife South, Ife North, are Omishori domain. And in Nigeria, you cannot eliminate the issue of godfatherism and influence of this political class in their domain. Now, Omishori will be the one, the way I see it,
to dictate
what happened in those two units.
Is that a form of inducement?
Excuse me, my brother.
Is that not against the Electoral Act to induce?
I said something here.
Okay.
I said we do not have societal problem, but we have individual problem affecting our society.
Just you continue with this issues of individual problem affecting the society. We have women calling us from Lokoja. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Good morning, women. Good morning. Are you there?
Hello.
Good morning. Go on with your comment, please.
Sajai.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Hello.
Good morning. Go on.
Hello.
I think you're having issues with the line. You can continue with the issue of individual factor.
To me, I believe going to visit that man now, we've heard that the president has sent a governor to meet him. Then
you never can tell whether it's the president. We should not quote the president in all of this.
You read it.
Well, I didn't read that. I only said that
it's in
the governor elect of Ekiti State, John Kayode Fayemi, visited Omishori.
Okay.
And the president of the Senate,
Bukola
Saraki, visited Omishori. So these are what is there.
From that report, what do you think is going to happen? Is talking to him to hand over Ife South and Ife North to our party, and he will give condition, probably, because as a man in control,
negotiator.
This is my condition, this is my condition, and all those stuff. And any party that probably is going to go for the highest bidder this time around, you understand? What does that speak of us as human beings, as leaders, or as a country? What message is that passing? Is that going to be a free and fair election where people will exercise their free franchise?
Only time we definitely tell about that one. Reggie is calling us from Port Harcourt. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Good morning, the advocate of the people.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Markson, for the first time I'm seeing you. And good morning to President from who is a regular person on this program. I say good morning to you. And what I want to say, Mr. Jai, how long shall Nigeria be celebrating wrongdoing? How long? It is quite unfair, quite shameful that a nation like Nigeria, the most populous in the African continent, we keep celebrating shameful acts and keep celebrating people who are not much relevant to the society. What I want to, like my young gentleman said, Mr. Markson, that he monitored and followed up to about 29 out of 30 LGS. This I had it very well. Yes. And results were fairly received and announced. Like he said, perfection is impossible. We are all present. Perfection is impossible. What would have stopped Townsend declaring a winner? We have had in the past, that in other countries, only by one vote, only by 2 votes, and winners are declared. Not to talk of a vote for about 354. What am I saying? In few couple of months back, we are in the era of vote buying, vote buying, vote buying. I want to ask you, the advocate of the people, are we now in the other and the era of index buying. If not so, why not simply announce the winner? The courts have been quick and delivered with lots of cases, and everybody is heading towards the court or the tribunal. When shall we get it right? It's a shameful thing.
Okay.
Let us not talk of Mandela. Jonathan of the last government, with the CRO, celebrated our present president.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Reggie, you've made your points. It's just 1 minute. Thank you very much. When are we going to get it right? And that's what the question is raising. INEC is talking about vote buying. And, well, this time around, the major political parties, the APC and the PDP, is talking about getting the man, Omishore, to endorse their party.
Okay. These are symptoms of desperation, because the office is not used to benefit the people. It's about just having power. Because, I mean, how can we justify? But I've said it, we always make excuses. There are a few weeks before elections, some traders were giving money.
That's a trader.
Traders who have been waiting and shouting for assistance.
That's the federal government. That's the federal government initiative.
I've told you there will always be suspicion. The government at the center is a leadership. A leader is a suspect. That is one of the first principles of leadership, and that is why we have code of conduct and ethics and things that will help you defend your integrity. So there are handwritings, and we are talking about vote. I just mentioned one now. A staff of INEC allegedly tore results. Are we talking about that? Several issues. But the point is that we need to go back to a regime where going to office is about serving the people. And this desperation will decline, because you'll be monitored not on the basis of your popularity in politics, but your performance in the society. And I think some countries of the world have achieved that. You see, if not, because whether we like it or not, a result will emanate from what happens tomorrow. What do we now do? Do we go to the point where salaries are paid as at when due, when roads are constructed to connect the farm with the market?
That's not the only state that is owing salary.
That is what we permit what is wrong. Is it proper? We are talking about corruption. Somebody whose minimum wage is 18,000 naira is not paid for 7 months. So how does he manage his family? These are critical issues that should affect us. We are in a nation where we don't have an hospital to treat our president, and we think it's a normal thing.
You see, the issue of minimum wage at the moment is also generating reactions, because the NLC is calling for a strike, which I guess is starting today. Minimum wage is another issue of discussion, which I hope that, maybe tomorrow we'll look at that. But before we wrap it off on the program this morning, the APC approved mode of primaries for each of the states. Valentine calling us from Delta. Many thanks for joining us, Valentine.
Yeah, advocate of the people. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Updating us and enlightening us. Let me go straight to the issue. Listen, if you cannot give what you don't have. It is clear. Now, whatever that is happening now, caution, give the whole, INEC cannot conduct election for a day. Conclusively, behold, what is going to happen in 2019. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Valentine from Delta. Well, before we wrap it up on the program, you want to give a reaction to what Valentine said?
Yeah, you heard what he said. He said what is going to happen in 2019 if they can conduct just.
But I want us to be optimistic that things
the fact is that
will get better.
Yes, we will definitely, there will be election in 2019, and then I believe Nigerians are ready for the
But this is the same INEC that conducted Edo election, Anambra election, Ekiti election. Is it because this one was declared inconclusive? That's why we are having accusation and counter-accusation.
These elections that you mentioned, they ended up in tribunal. They just finished Edo case now. I think they just finished that.
And that was why I raised the question that is there any election in this country that we politicians don't go to tribunal to challenge it? Peter is calling us from Bauchi. Thank you so much for joining us. You're our last caller on the program this morning.
Oh, so I guess I'm lucky then. Good morning, Emma. But I'm kind of a little bit angry with you. Let me greet your guest first of all. Good morning, Mr. JD.
Good morning, sir.
I'm throwing my greetings all the way from Bauchi. And good morning to your guest. It's like I can see two Mr. DJ speaking with divine direction and divine wisdom on as a panelist. God bless both of you. Emma, please, I don't want you to take side or try to make excuses for the government. Please. Be a moderator and
taking side in what sense? What are you saying? I'm not a politician.
Listen. See, you know, I will refer to Mr. Jide. He said some certain things. We shouldn't be making excuses, like you said about this, what do you call it, inconclusive election that it has been done before. This is not the first time. So must we repeat it like that? For goodness sake, please. The way this whole thing is going, I fear let's go to MKO Abiola's situation. Everybody has been able to rate this election as happened. If I will refer you back, but it's unfortunate, I don't know which of the states, but just in August here, this time I conducted an election, I think a senatorial election, was it Kogi, if I'm not mistaken, and something of this nature happened. There was this difference of council vote, up to about a margin of 7,000, but the ruling party won, and it was declared just in August, a month ago. So what are we saying? Now, some people will make excuses and say, oh, they've not gotten it right. So why did they get it right there and they did not get it right here? Please, let us be realistic.
Okay.
I will say this, but no, we always try to speak.
I'm afraid we may not be able to continue with your call because of time. Thank you so much, Peter from Bauchi. We quite appreciate your call this morning. But quickly, before we go on the program, because the hands are up that we should leave the studio, let's quickly bring to you this one. The National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress has approved the mode of primaries for Saturday's September 29th governorship primary election scheduled to hold across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. If you can have that on the screen at the moment, the state resolution on mode of primaries to be adopted. The Abia State direct primary, Adamawa indirect, Akwa Ibom direct primaries, Anambra direct primaries, Bauchi direct primaries, Bayelsa direct primaries, Benue indirect primaries, Borno indirect primaries, Cross River direct primaries, Delta indirect primaries, Ebonyi indirect, Enugu indirect, Edo direct, Ekiti direct, Gombe indirect, Imo direct primaries, Jigawa indirect primaries, Kaduna indirect primaries. Kano will be going for a direct primary. We have here Kaduna will be going for indirect primary, Katsina indirect primaries, Kebbi indirect primary. When you look at Kaduna, this is where you have Shehu Sani and the governor of the state, Nasru El-Rufai, having issues, and that same party, that is the APC, will be going for an indirect primaries. Lagos will be having a direct primaries. Gentlemen, your final thought on all of this?
My final thought, we had enough problem in our hands already in this country that we are facing, that we're battling with Boko Haram, different kind of problem. We don't want more problems. The politicians should put their ass together. Anyone that is in charge of taking decisions should take decision that is based on national interest, rather than personal interest. Number two, the APC don't need to behave like rebels. They are in charge.
That's a political party. That will be too much. That will be too much on the national TV. That will be too much on the national TV. That's a political party. You have to withdraw that statement.
They are in charge of the government of this country, and the government of this country is government of Nigeria.
But
they are governing Nigeria,
because of time, I must let you.
Not only APC, not PDP. They are governing the whole Nigeria. They see themselves as
thank you very much,
power.
Markson. Well, thank you very much. Jide, 1 minute.
A wise man said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. The chapter 2 of our Constitution 1999 as amended says sovereignty belongs to the people. And if you are a politician that cares for the people, you shouldn't be afraid of direct or indirect. And you can learn from now. If you want to be relevant in this country, in the political calculations, then you must go and learn how to deliver benefits of democracy to the people. And it's all about developing the country. Anything short of that,
Jide Ologun, legal practitioner,
many thanks
required. For joining us on the program this morning. Markson Meidwoye.
God bless
thank you so much for joining us. Leadership expert, retired Navy officer, and a public affairs analyst. And that's how far we can go on the program this morning. Let me let you know that there is more work to be done on Lagos Ibadan Expressway. If I can have that picture, some of these pictures of what transpired today on that particular road. This is quite worrisome at this time. The Lagos State government, the federal government need to do something to those potholes on this major road so that the loss of time, energy will not be done every day. And that's how far we can go on the program this morning. I remain Emmanuel Ajayi. God bless you and God bless Nigeria. Bye for now.